Hi there! Now, in this video we're going to talk about the writing. Unfortunately, the writing part of the IELTS exam is the most demanding one, the most difficult one. However, I always teach my students a very specific method in which to write, and that usually helps them improve very much. Why? Because when I teach them specific structure, then their language also improves very much. Let me just go back now and tell you exactly what the IELTS exam consists of. It consists of two tasks. The first task is the short one. It lasts for 20 minutes and you're asked to actually describe a line graph, a table, a diagram, or a map. The map might actually include something like a picture. So for example, you may have a bookcase in one room and a bookcase in another room, and you've got to compare them. So it's a description of a process. That's what we call it, a process. The second part of the exam consists of an opinion essay, and that lasts for 40 minutes. Now you're asked to express your opinion, and there are maybe advantages or disadvantages, types of questions. You're asked to express your opinion on something. You're asked maybe to express your opinion on both both sides of a topic, or there are separate questions that you have to answer, usually 2 or 3. What's the difficulty of the writing exam? The first one is like the reading exam, it's the timing. You only have 1 hour. Now, you've got to help yourselves very much by practicing a lot. My students write between 70 to 100 compositions before they take the exam, and I demand that they write 5 or 6 compositions in just a few hours when they're at home. Why? Because by writing, you get used to everything, and things start coming out very mechanically, robotically. In the exam, there's also stress coming out. So you're actually going to find yourselves being a little bit more panicked. In order to deal with that, you need to have practiced at home so much that when you go to the exam, everything comes out very quickly without you thinking. Okay, now what's the very important thing when we're doing task 1? When you're doing task 1, you need to practice at home by putting a timer, and putting the timer at 17 minutes, not 20. You've got to train to write as many as you can. You're probably not going to be able to write them, at least the average student is not going to be able to get a very high grade in that. However, you need to just know which pieces of information to pick out, put down. It's just 150 words. Part 2 is 250 words. Remember something very important. If you drop down in task 1 under 141 words and in task 2 below 241 words, then you will be punished on one of the criteria, and it's usually a little bit catastrophic, unfortunately, because if you get a 5 in one criterion out of the 4, then your overall grade will drop quite a lot. On the good side, if you practice task 2 very much and you get a good grade in that, that's usually the grade you get overall in the exam, in the writing part of the exam. Task 1 actually counts for 33%. Task 2 actually counts for 67%, which means if you get a 5.5 in task 1, which is very easy to get, to be very honest with you, it's a very low grade, but you get a 7 for the second task, then your overall writing grade will be 7. What does that mean? That means that you need to be very, very well prepared for task 2. Now, task 2, to be well prepared, what I always do with my students is I teach them a very specific academic writing method, and this comes from years of experience when I used to teach at the University of Oxford and at the American University of Athens. We teach a specific structure using thesis statements, topic sentences. If you learn that specific method, then you'll know exactly where you're going. When you know where you're going, your sentences will be grammatically more correct. It doesn't matter if they're simple. What matters is that you're communicating specific arguments. You don't have to be very, using flowery language or very high level vocabulary. Simple sentences, just like in the speaking, but be able to communicate specific arguments. Use maybe some examples to exemplify some arguments or some explanations. But the specific structure will help you improve your language. I have had students in the past who couldn't write at all. Their writing included so many grammar mistakes that the meaning didn't come out. After they practiced the structure I taught them, they were actually able to write English much more fluently, and I could understand the meaning much more clearly. Obviously, in this video I can't teach all of the structure because that needs quite a lot of practice. However, you could find it in quite a few academic writing books that are out. Oshima and Hogue is actually a good book, and there are some sites that teach you that, although to be very honest with you, to do well in that you do need some sort of a good teacher and some guidance in that, okay? Remember, practice writing quite a lot, and again, you'll do well.